Good morning. Welcome to Professor Vipin's YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to discuss about unemployment, politics, and the whole network that goes with it. So I read an article that says India's unemployment rate rose to a 45-year high during 2017-18, the Business Standard claimed. The assessment by the National Sample Survey Office conducted between July 2017 and June 2018 showed that unemployment rate stood at 6.1%, the highest since 1972-73. Now, before I get into politics and unemployment, statistics is always something which is difficult to trust because it all depends on who are you asking, what is the demography you are asking, and so on. So if I'm going to ask a group of people who are unskilled and then these guys say that we've never found jobs in the last 1 year, of course it's going to look like unemployment in India is pretty high. But at the same time, if I look at skilled people and ask them, okay, how have you fared when it comes to getting jobs? I might be able to get better response and the unemployment data will not look so good. But anyway, I never had the access to this report, and if I do, maybe I could do some analysis on that. But now the Congress is going to use this report to attack BJP because the Prime Minister was elected into power with that claim, if you remember, saying that he's going to create 2 crore jobs. Now, in India, when a politician makes a claim, we have this lovely habit where we do not question how are you going to make anything happen. For example, when Rahul Gandhi made a claim a couple of days ago saying that, I will create a minimum income for the people of poor. I will make sure that these guys get some amount of money. Now, nobody is going to ask, okay, Rahul, how are you going to make that minimum income available? What's going to be your source of funds in order to provide free income to people who aren't working? That's a nice idea, don't you think? You get money without having to work. But Arvind Kejriwal comes into power in Delhi. He makes promises like free water, free electricity, free Wi-Fi, and a whole bunch of populist ideas. No voter asked Arvind Kejriwal, how are you going to make this happen? Anybody who knows fundamentals of economics will understand that in order to provide something, you need to let go of something. For example, if I want to spend more money for myself, one of the things I may have to let go of is I should stop using personal transportation. I should start using public transport. So there is a trade-off. I need to let go of something in order to gain something else. It's simply referred to as marginal rate of substitution in economics. So when Narendra Modi promised that he is going to provide 2 crore jobs, one part of that is he never told us how he is going to make 2 crore jobs actually possible. The other thing is you must be very silly to believe any politician's claim unless he's able to substantiate that claim. If you look at generally, leaders in the past have come out with these absurd claims that if I'm going to be voted into power, I'm going to provide this, I'm going to provide that. And nobody has really asked, okay, how are you going to do it? Now, 2 crore seems like a very specific number for you to accomplish. And in the 4 or 5 years that the Prime Minister has been in power, it's very difficult to understand the business environment and the environment in general in order to go about creating jobs. In the last 4 or 5 years, artificial intelligence has thrown out so many people from their jobs. I have a relative who works in a huge IT firm and he was part of a team for about 2,000 people. Now, he was telling me of how artificial intelligence has reduced that team of 2,000 people to 80. Now, artificial intelligence is definitely not something that the Prime Minister could in fact calculate. And the rate at which technology is progressing and new jobs are actually being created today is very surprising to see that a lot of the jobs that we thought are once upon a time very lucrative is now getting outdated. So there is a lot happening in the world of business today that is causing people to, in fact, the skills of people, in fact, is becoming very obsolete. For example, today, I know very well as a teacher that I cannot use the methodologies that was used about 5-10 years ago. I need to be continuously innovative in order for me to stand out from the crowd. Whereas many people in many jobs that they're in and many people in general who finish their graduation or post-graduation do not have adequate skills to get into the market to get a decent job. In fact, this is not something that the unemployment survey may have calculated. It may have never even looked at whether people are employable in the first place. For example, many of the colleges today, when they produce BCom graduates, BBA graduates, engineers, etc., Most of these people, I would say at least about 99% of these graduates who finish their BCom, BBA, or engineering have pathetic, terrible communication skills. That is, they are terrible at speaking, they can't write a proper paragraph correctly, they can't read fluent English, and let alone a whole bunch of other things such as drafting an email or even basic skills such as how MS Office works. Most of the colleges today will simply stick to the syllabus, and they will not have anything beyond the syllabus. And many students do not take the initiative in order to make themselves employable. I used to be this person once upon a time where I believed that whatever my college is going to teach me is very much adequate for the real world. And when I got into the real world, I saw how crippling it is when it comes to not being prepared and getting into the job market. I saw that my resume was terrible. It was just one page, and I barely had anything to show off for. So many people who finish their graduation are unemployable simply because of that one factor that I've told you, which is lack of communication skills. Now, do they take the initiative to improve it? Very few actually go ahead and do that, but a vast majority find it very difficult to get jobs simply because of the lack of soft skills with them. They strongly believe that I need to study, I need to get a good report in my marks card, and that's all that matters. So that's another reason why a big chunk of people tend to be unemployed today. There is lack of creativity, there is lack of communication skills, and the list goes on. Of course, the Prime Minister is not responsible for telling you that, hey, you need to improve your communication skills. It's your responsibility to improve your communication skills, your responsibility to become employable. Yeah, it's your responsibility to become employable. These are things that you need to understand when you actually, in fact, get into an interview. It's not the Prime Minister's responsibility to give you a job, man. Don't transfer your responsibility to somebody else. So, for example, if I say that, my room is pretty filthy, I can't say that, Prime Minister, Swachh Bharat campaign is a disaster. It's my responsibility to keep this room clean. So this is something that you need to understand when it comes to any promise made by a political party. Politicians can only do, the gap between my hands is, about 6 inches. Politicians can do about this much. You need to, in fact, run the race and finish the race there. So the Prime Minister promised 2 crore jobs, and of course that did not come through, and people are of course going to attack him for that. Where is my job? But nobody is going to ask themselves what they have done in order to in fact find a job for themselves. So this is something that the politicians, in fact the opposition party, is going to attack Narendra Modi with. Know that the industry today is changing so fast that even the guys in the IT field who are into continuous learning, and they find it difficult to in fact survive in the job market today. People who are in the manager positions for many years in companies tend to lose their jobs simply because the skill sets of these guys is no longer what is needed. You are able to see a bot is able to replace these people. Who are you going to blame for that? The Prime Minister? Are you actually going to blame the Prime Minister for artificial intelligence taking over jobs? This is something that people need to understand about the whole unemployment scene. It's definitely not the Prime Minister's fault. It's definitely not the fault of any leader as such for them to in fact create jobs, or rather unemployment rate in this case. But what can the government do in order to encourage creation of jobs? One thing which I've always been a supporter of is that we need to be a country that's more welcoming to foreign investors. We should stop this idea that, if you want to start a business in India, first partner with a local company and then start doing business in India. We constantly have this threat that, the small business is going to take a hit, this is going to take a hit, that's going to take a hit. How long are we going to protect people from threats? We should be an environment, if you want to create jobs, you need to welcome companies and tell them that we have that place for you, and you need to in fact create that environment for these companies to actually start putting up their offices and start making jobs available. I remember sometime in my 10th grade, I guess, when call centers were a huge deal in India. And I had this dream that, I want to keep a career in a call center simply because of the fat salaries that they were giving way back in 2002, 2003. So I remember throughout Bangalore, every other place you had call centers coming up, and the government back then would have these initiatives by telling them that we'll give you tax holidays, we'll give you this, we'll give you that, and so on. I mean, countless benefits they started to do. And even today, when I look at so many people waiting on the roadside for their cab to arrive, there's a good chance they're working for a call center. It's a good chance they're working for a BPO. These guys, the BPOs, came to Bangalore simply because of the government providing all these wonderful freebies for them in order for them to do business. And for them to do business, they gave us jobs. Hell, my first full time job was at a BPO itself. So all this is something the government can do from their side. The Prime Minister can't magically, of course, create 2 crore jobs, but he can make the business environment more lucrative for foreign investors to start putting money in our economy. That way, of course, there's a good possibility that you can start the creation of jobs. In fact, the Tamil Nadu government is so encouraging for industries that Renault has invested another 4,500 crores to expand their factory for car manufacturing. Now, these are things that the government in general, the central government in general, should consider for the creation of jobs. It may not be able to create 2 crore jobs in general, but it can create some jobs for the skilled group of people. The other thing is, of course, if you're a person who's struggling to, in fact, find a job, don't blame the government for it. Improve your skill sets, and there's a good chance you might be able to find something that can suit your interest. So, this has been a fairly long video. Thank you for watching, and if you have stayed up all the way till the end, thank you so much for that again. Anyway, folks, do like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thank you for watching Professor Vipin. See you guys. Have a nice day. Bye.